it that some people seem to attract more success, more abundance, more money, almost effortlessly, while others put in the time and the energy, and yet it seems that their bank account never grows? Well, hang with me in this video because I'm going to share with you 10 rules for money and the law of attraction that come from my own in the trenches knowledge of actually building wealth. And there's some stuff here that you've never heard anywhere else. So hang with me, let's go. Hey, what's up? My name is Kala Kanai and I'm an entrepreneur. I literally started out working in a coffee shop for just barely over minimum wage, and I've gone on now to create multiple 7- and 8-figure businesses. And everything that I share on my channel is real world applied knowledge that has helped me create that transformation in hopes that it saves you some time and some energy in your own pursuit of more success and fulfillment as well. So hang with me in this video. I'm gonna go over 10 rules for money and the law of attraction. There's some stuff here that you've probably never heard anywhere else, and some of this content is really, really deep. You may even want to take notes. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so number one is that our net worth will never exceed our self-worth. This actually comes from a field of study known as axiology. It is the study of value and worth. It's a field of philosophy that's been around for literally hundreds of years. And in axiology, there is a theory that is framed mostly as an equation. It is that self-worth plus other worth equals net worth. In other words, self-worth, how much we love and esteem ourselves, plus other worth, the value or service that we're able to offer to the world or to the marketplace, will ultimately equal our net worth. Now notice how it's hinged upon our self-worth, right? Because think about it. How can you attract into your life something that you don't truly believe that you are worthy of having in the first place? And if you do happen to attract something into your life that you don't believe you're worthy of having, will you really be able to keep it? A good example of this might be lottery winners. While everybody walks around thinking it'd be awesome to win the lottery, if you've ever actually done the research on lottery winners, the vast majority of lottery winners not only lose all the money that came into their life, but their lives are decimated as a result. Relationships are tattered, there's debt galore, and then many of them feel as if they wish that they did not win the lottery in the first place. See, there's a big difference between having $1 million and actually being a millionaire. And that's why if we want to create new fruits in our life, well then, we must first start at the roots, right? So net worth will never exceed self-worth. Number two, values. If you've been on my channel before, you've heard me talk about this most likely, and that's because this concept right here has changed my life more than anything else that I talk about on this channel. So much so that I've dedicated an entire video to this piece of content, and I'll link to it somewhere around this video when you hang until the end. For the purposes of this content, I'm gonna keep it really short. Notice that everything that we get in our life is in direct proportion to what it is that we truly value. The things that we truly value in our life, we actually prioritize. And the things that we prioritize is what we will dedicate our resources to, specifically time, energy, and money. Notice that whatever we invest our time, energy, and money into will ultimately become our destiny. So the things that we value most in life are the things that are gonna get all of our time, energy, and money. And the things that we don't truly value in life, none of our resources are ever gonna make it there. Now this is why you see people say, oh, I wanna get in shape, but notice that they never actually make time for the gym. And even if they do, it's only for a short period of time and then they eventually quit. People say, I wanna start my own business, but they never actually, save and set aside any money to start their own business. If you've ever experienced procrastination, frustration, self-sabotage, things of this nature, well, that's a good sign that you're trying to pursue something that is not in alignment with your values. The things that we value most in life, we will always find time, energy, and money to pursue. The things that we don't truly value in life, we tend to just give it lip service. We say that we want it, we'd like to have it, we wish that it would come our way, but we never actually seem to do anything about it. Instead, whenever it comes up, we procrastinate, we hesitate, we sabotage, and we find that over time, those goals just never truly come to life. Now, the good news is that we can change our values. Our values are not static. We can adjust our values to match our goals, and we can adjust our goals to match our values, which is the topic of the more in-depth video that I go into. But the reason I share it here is simply this. It doesn't matter how many books you read, seminars you attend, classes you take, courses you buy, videos you watch on YouTube. If you don't truly value making more money, if you don't truly value wealth, cash, financial independence, well then you're never gonna spend the time, energy, and money to acquire it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it would probably be better off, not beating yourself up for not accomplishing something that you don't truly value accomplishing. So in life, we attract into our life the things that we value most. And when we set goals and say that we want something that we don't truly value, notice that that is not the thing that the law of attraction ever brings into our life. Now, again, I can go really deep on a lot of these topics, but we're gonna move on to number 3. So number 3 is to be grateful for the form of wealth that you already have. Now, this is a pretty deep concept here, but what I'm ultimately talking about is the law of conservation. The law of conservation is that we understand that energy can never be created or destroyed. It is only transformed. In other words, everything in our life is conserved. See, the masses live in a world where they believe that, things are gained and lost. But a master of life understands that nothing is gained or lost, it is only transformed. Well, how does that play out in terms of money? Well, you see, it's not that you don't have wealth. It's that your wealth is tied up in proportion, in direct proportion to the things that you value. Let's say, for example, that you truly value having a family. Well, you'll probably find that you spend a lot of your time, energy, and money building your family, taking care of the kids, cultivating a good family dynamic. And if I came to you and said, hey, could I buy your kids off of you for, $10 million, you'd probably say, no way, not at all. I would never sell my family. Well, then notice that right there in that example, you have $10 million of wealth. It's just not in the form of cash and money, because you're not valuing it in the form of cash and money. You're valuing it in the form of a family. See? So say, for example, you love traveling and you love getting out there and creating memories and taking pictures and, seeing new societies and introducing yourself to new cultures and expanding your scope of the world and having a grander vision of, humanity as a whole. Well, if I came to you and said, well, can I buy all of your memories, all of your experiences, all of those cultural, epiphanies that you've had, all of that, can I buy all of that from you for $1 million? Well, if you truly value travel, you probably say, no way, I'd never give that up. It's worth so much more than $1 million. Well, then notice that your wealth is just not in the form of money. It's in the form of those memories, those photos, those experiences that you've created. So this ties back into our values. See, in life, we have wealth. It's just that our wealth is not always in the form of cash, unless we truly value cash. And in life, we tend to resist what is real for us, resist our own reality. And what we resist persists. You've likely heard that before. So rather than resisting, maybe take the time to be grateful for the form of wealth that you actually have. Looking at that family and being grateful for the form of wealth that exists in that family dynamic. Looking at those memories of travel and being grateful for the form of wealth that you have wrapped up in those memories and those experiences. Now notice that when we are grateful for the life that we have the ability to create the life we'd be grateful for. When we love the life we have, we unlock the life we'd love. But if we are busy resisting what is real, what is actual, what is factual, not seeing that our wealth already exists just in a form that we haven't yet recognized, well, then we tend to live in that resistance, that resentment, and whatever we resent becomes our present. All right, moving on to number 4, traits of the greats. This is, again, going to tie into all of these things that we've been talking about. This is one of my favorite exercises. Notice that all of us tend to put some people on the pedestal and some people in the pit, right? We look up to some people and we look down on other people. However, law of conservation, as I was just talking about, means that every single one of us has all of the human traits. There's about 4,600 and some odd traits in the Oxford Dictionary. And all of us have all of them. We express all of them. We are all kind and cruel, honest and dishonest, happy and sad, positive and negative, animal and angelic, peaceful and wrathful. Just depends what's happening, what's going on in our life. But when we put people on a pedestal, what we're really doing is we're saying that we're too humble to admit that what exists in them exists in us. And when we put people in the pit, notice that we're saying that we're too prideful to admit that what exists in them exists in us. And the challenge here with both of these polarized perceptions is that we're disowning parts of ourselves, right? If I'm putting somebody on the pedestal and saying, I wish I could be more like that, then I'm disowning the parts of myself that already have those traits. Which, how can I love myself if I'm disowning parts of myself? Going back to our point about self-worth. So traits of the greats is a great exercise that I like to use, and I'll give you an example. Just during the pandemic, I was watching The Last Dance, which is a documentary about Michael Jordan. And as my girlfriend and I sat and watched all the episodes, I found myself getting teary-eyed towards the end because I was so inspired by what this man had created in his life. And as soon as I started to feel those emotions, I realized that I was putting him on a pedestal. So the next day I sat down and I wrote down on a piece of paper, Michael Jordan. And I wrote down next to his name, the traits that I saw in him that I was inspired by. He was a great leader. He was a visionary, dedication to his craft, these sorts of things. And then next to each one of those traits, I took the time to look at my life and ask myself, where have I expressed those traits in my life? Where have I been, a visionary? Where did I see things that maybe nobody else could see? Where did I believe that something more was possible than everybody else around me believed? Where have I been a good leader? Where have I showed, a dedication to my craft? And I literally started to notate all the places in my life that I have shown those traits so that I could see that what exists in him exists in me. Now, this goes back to our self-worth. As we do this, we begin to take people off the pedestal and put ourselves in line with those people that we tend to look up to and realize that nobody is greater than us and nobody is lesser than us. We just have different forms of expressing our traits. And when you realize that all of the greatness that you see in the world also exists inside of you, you will begin to attract more great things into your life. Now, moving on to number 5. Wealth begets wealth. Notice this, millionaires tend to hang out with millionaires. Thousandaires tend to hang out with thousandaires. Decamillionaires tend to hang out with decamillionaires. Centimillionaires with centimillionaires, billionaires with billionaires, and so on and so forth. Why do I say this? Because when you realize that wealth begets more wealth, you'll start to take inventory of the people that you're spending your time around. Notice that if I want to be a decamillionaire or a centimillionaire, I'm not going to be spending so much of my time around the people that are thousandaires or millionaires. I want to pay to be in rooms to learn from other people who already have the results that I want to have. Because just being around them means that I'm absorbing, some of their information, their knowledge, their wisdom, their ways of thinking, and that wealth begets more wealth. So as I tend to surround myself in those environments, my ways of thinking, my ways of behaving, my ways of showing up in life change. So wealth begets wealth. If you want to attract more wealth, get into the rooms where more wealth already exists. All right, number 6, saving and investing. Listen, it is no secret what it takes to build real long-term wealth. Any one of us can pick up a book on wealth and find that the majority of things that people are talking about are the same thing. Live below your means, increase your savings, keep investing that savings, and over time, let compound interest take over. Compound interest, by the way, the 8th wonder of the world. Let that compound interest take over, and over time, we will create wealth. Warren Buffett was not rich until he was into his, mid-60s, basically. But he saved and invested over time, and he took the long, slow, patient road to wealth. Do not undermine the value of saving and investing. But you see, what most people do is they want to get rich quick. Well, I don't have time to wait 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, right? They want to jump in from business opportunity to business opportunity to business opportunity. They never fully apply themselves to things. It's cryptocurrency, it's NFTs, it's stocks. They're looking for a penny stock to hit. They're signing up for all sorts of things, hoping to hit it out of the park one day. But notice that the vast majority of people looking to get rich quick end up getting rich never. They don't have a value on wealth and money. What they have is a value on trying to get rich quick, on trying to, strike it rich fast, because they don't have the patience that comes with truly valuing long-term wealth, financial success, abundance, and money. So if you want to build and attract more wealth, which goes right back into our wealth begets wealth, then save and invest. And you'll notice that as you save and invest, your circles of friends will start to change as your wealth changes, because wealth begets wealth. So as you build more wealth through this quote unquote slow process, what you'll actually notice is that it starts out slow and eventually it just accelerates really, really quickly. And you add yourself to the rooms of people, they're gonna have, magnificent opportunities that you've attracted into your life by taking this methodical, long-term approach. Now, I am not saying that you should not go out and find ways to increase your income. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you hinge all of your financial success on just increasing your income, well, my friend, you've only got a part of the equation, and it is not the full equation of building real long-term wealth. Now, number 7, the right to risk. This is gonna go right hand in hand with saving and investing that we just talked about. Take the time to earn the right to risk. See, going back to what I was just saying, most people want to take tons of risk today in hopes that they get rich quick. Right? They're going to join a new business opportunity. They're going to put a bunch of money in some stock that they heard is going to hit it big. They put a bunch into some cryptocurrency that they think is going to 1000x over the next few years. And they're taking all of this exorbitant risk that they can't truly handle in their life. In other words, they're risking so much that they get emotionally involved in the things that they are investing in, whether that's a business opportunity or some sort of passive investment. In other words, you would be wise to invest over time slowly and build yourself a cushion, a financial cushion, so that you can over time begin to invest in increasing levels of risk, going from maybe bonds and blue chips or ETFs, things that are low risk, and then over time you can begin investing into things that are more risky and eventually potentially even be investing in venture capital. But if you go straight from nothing to trying to invest in super volatile opportunities, well, you're going to get emotionally involved. And where our emotions are high, our intelligence is low, right? Where emotions take over, we tend to make foolish decisions. Warren Buffett said that if you can't manage your emotions, you can't manage money. So rather than going out and trying to take the fast approach, the I hope I hit it out of the ballpark approach, and end up sabotaging yourself emotionally, take the long, slow, methodical approach and increase your risk over time as you continue to build a cushion that means that you can remain grounded, sturdy, and certain regardless of the volatility of these increasing markets. All right, number 8, shame and guilt. There is likely nothing that sabotages our success, happiness, fulfillment, joy, abundance, and wealth, and all these other things more than the emotional baggage of shame and guilt. Notice that the more shame and guilt that we carry throughout our lives, the more that we undermine ourselves in comparison to others, the more that we subordinate ourselves to others. Think about it like a spectrum. On this end of the spectrum, we have altruism, and on this end of the spectrum, we have narcissism. By the way, there's a bunch of BS out there that's going to try to convince you that the goal is to be altruistic in life, and that's nonsense. You'll see why in a moment. Now, on this end of the spectrum, at altruism, we give away all of our value and worth and expect nothing in return. And on this end of the spectrum, narcissism, we take value and worth from others and give nothing in return. Notice though that the real wisdom is hidden in the middle. It is the willingness to give value and worth in exchange for value and worth in return. In that situation, both parties win. It's win-win down the middle. Now, to the point though, the more shame and guilt that we carry, the further towards the end of the spectrum of altruism we tend to land. In other words, the more shame and guilt that we carry, the more that we give away our value, our worth, our time, and energy trying to make up for the feelings of shame and guilt that we've adopted over our life. In some weird way, it is our attempt to buy back our self-esteem, which goes back to self-worth. The more shame and guilt that we carry, the more that we diminish our self-worth. And how can we attract into our life something that we don't truly believe we are worthy of having? All right, number 9. This is something I call the law of repulsion. You notice if there's going to be a law of attraction, then there must also be a law of repulsion. In other words, if we're seeking to attract something into our life, then we've also got to say no and repel all of the other things that come up that could get in the way of us having that thing. In other words, if you're saying that you want to have a deep, loving, meaningful relationship, then why do you continue to say yes to the relationship that doesn't appreciate you? If you say that you want to have a multi-million-dollar business, then why do you continue to say yes to all of the other menial opportunities that are coming your way? Isn't it interesting that the moment that we say yes to something, it most often sounds like us saying no to all of the other things that are not that? In other words, if you're trying to attract something into your life, then notice that your focus will be on repelling all of the things that would seek to get in the way of you having it. That's the law of repulsion. All right, number 10, learn to love yourself through the reflection of others. This has also been called the mirror principle. And that's because, everything that we see about others out there in the world is also true about ourselves. We can't escape this because the universe is a giant feedback mechanism. If you're willing to look at your life and be really brutally honest with yourself, you'll see that life is showing you how you're showing up in life, whether we like it or not. Now, earlier when I talked about the traits of the greats, I said that those people that we put on a pedestal, what's really happening is that we're too humble to admit that what exists in them exists in us. And it would be wise then to take an inventory of those traits that we're admiring and see how they show up in our life so we can put ourselves on that pedestal as well. And if that's true, then the same must also be true about the people that we put in the pit. We're too prideful to admit that what exists in them exists in us. In other words, the things that we judge about others is really a reflection of what we've disowned about ourselves. And how can we truly love ourselves if we are disowning parts of ourselves? And if we don't fully love ourselves, how can we have the self-worth that I talked about earlier that's so important in attracting what it is that we want into our life? Because again, we can only attract what we truly believe that we're worthy of having. Let me share with you how this plays out in my real life. As an example, in my relationship with my woman, sometimes we have, these combative conversations. And when that happens, I'll take a step back oftentimes and ask myself, well, what am I perceiving about her that I'm judging that's causing me to feel angry or frustrated or whatever it might be? Well, as an example, maybe I feel like she's being selfish. Well, then I'm going to ask myself, well, where in my life have I been selfish? If I perceive that maybe she's being arrogant, well, where in my life have I been arrogant? And on it goes. You see, the point here isn't necessarily to make that behavior okay. What it is to take ownership of all of my disowned parts so that I can have a whole life experience. There's a lot of BS and rhetoric out there that wants to convince you that the point is to live a one-sided life. You're supposed to be always kind, never cruel, always happy, never sad, always honest, never dishonest, always peaceful, never wrathful. And it's nonsense. That would be great if you want to live a half life. But if you want to live a whole life, a complete life, a fulfilling life, and have true self-worth, then see how all parts of you serve you. How the wholeness of who you are is more magnificent than any one part of yourself could ever be. And when we love ourselves for who we are, we become who we'd love to be and attract what we'd love to have. I hope that you got value out of this video, my friend, with these 10 tips. And again, if you like this content, if you enjoy stuff like this, then make sure you subscribe, hit that little like button, drop a comment, and make sure that you turn on the bell notifications so you get notified when I drop more content like this. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be of service to you, and pay attention to some of the links around here that'll link to other videos similar to this. Go ahead and subscribe, turn on that bell notification, and I'll see you in the future. Take care.